Hello, I'm Richard Hooper and this is SatTV Week. Now I'm pleased to be joined by Todd McDonell of Inmarsat. Todd, thank you for joining us. Mobility market is one of the big areas for Inmarsat, but how is the market playing out for you at the moment?
Yeah, thanks Richard. Well, I would say the market's playing out quite well for us actually. I mean, there's tremendous demand in aviation for connectivity in aircraft. That's a whole new and fast growing market, so we're busily working with a lot of airlines on that. Maritime has been a core business of ours for a long time, and maritime connectivity is growing, so there's an expectation not so much just in crew connectivity but also automated systems to be able to get data back from shipping. And then in the government areas we have a lot of drive from governments across military but also police, emergency services, border protection and foreign affairs, all having a greater need for connectivity. And then our enterprise colleagues working in mining, oil and gas and so on, they have a lot of connectivity as well. The other thing I would say is that mobility is not always the same thing, or perhaps the same thing to all people. So sometimes it's about being able to use something on the move, but we also have customers who conceive or believe mobility is the ability to use the same service anywhere they go. So if you're a user of monitoring technology, we have a number of weather bureaus around the world who use us for weather monitoring. You want to know that the connection will work the same way whether you're weather monitoring on one side of the country or another. And so the Inmarsat networks are very well built for that. They look the same and work the same wherever in the world you want to use them.
Now you mentioned a lot of sectors there, but which is the up and coming sector?
Well, I think that's not so straightforward. The newest market would be aviation. So aviation is growing at a rapid pace because people expect connectivity today and they're not willing to get on an aircraft and decide that they can live without connectivity. So that is driving that. In addition, the airlines realise that there's tremendous efficiencies to be had if they could get connectivity to the aircraft. They can do a lot of work with the aircraft before it lands, and that revolutionises how fast they can turn the plane around. But at the same time, in maritime, our maritime teams are busy doing more global express installations on ships because ships have a greater data connectivity need today than they used to. Governments are expecting to deploy comms no matter where they go. Now, in the military sector, for example, you can see films, for example, back in the 60s, you'd see the radio operator always placed with the platoon commander, and that'd be the only connection that team had. These days, you'll see a deployed force, every person in the team has a radio. So connectivity at the individual level is a given in the government market, and that's driving an increase in government need. And in our enterprise areas where the oil and gas, the mining sectors and so on, they're using IoT a tremendous amount as well as automation. So you're seeing automated trucks, you're seeing a lot of on-the-ground sensors and so on. So they're using a lot more connections than they used to because connectivity once upon a time was more person to person, but now it's just as much machine to machine in addition to the person to person.
Now we've heard a lot about the European Aviation Network. What's the status of that?
So we have completed building the European Aviation Network. We are doing some work with some customers on that, and the initial reviews have been very positive. So I think that'll be a big benefit to European travellers for some years to come. And it's certainly revolutionary in its design, and I think the travelling public will appreciate that.
Now, how has the operator landscape changed as far as you're concerned and Inmarsat?
So when you say the operator landscape, I think you'd best describe Inmarsat as slightly different because we've always run complete networks. So I often find people talk about satellite operators as people who fly spacecraft and radiate a signal and others do something with that. That's never been Inmarsat's model. Inmarsat builds and operates complete networks. And in terms of operating complete networks, we're probably still the largest or one of the largest operators in that area. There are obviously people who are interested in us because of that, but I think we're generating a lot more value today because we've optimised how we deliver those services through our L-band technology, our Global Express Ka-band technology, and now with the European Aviation Network through S-band. So you're seeing us not so much be an operator per se or a satellite operator, but be a network and service provider, and I would say that in that area we're being quite successful.
Now, the satellite industry has faced some challenges in the last 15 months. What do you see from Inmarsat's point of view, the challenges going forward?
So I do think there's a great expectation for connectivity. People will be able to expect to be able to get a connection wherever they go, whenever they go, and so there's a demand requirement. At the same time, there's a lot of people talking about building more capacity, and there's some debate about whether capacity will outstrip supply. I don't see that being the case. Actually, I see capacity becoming much more customised. We're talking about a lot of the LEO operators, or the people who want to become LEO operators, but they need tremendous amounts of capital, and so there are some in the industry who are debating whether capital is going to be tricky because the LEO operators all need to vacuum up so much to run their networks. I think the established operators still have a very big place in the marketplace. I think it's going to be much harder for some of those new entrants to come in. And I was in a presentation yesterday that was telling me there was well over 30 interested LEO operators in the marketplace today. They all need in the realms of billions of dollars to get their business to go, and I don't think that's very sustainable. So as a established and well-known operator of the market, I think we're better placed to be able to deliver what customers want today, and we'll be watching the LEO game with interest because I think that's got some time to play out.
Todd, thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard.